Hey everyone, welcome to Wazesha Wednesday. It's Wednesday and not Friday or Saturday like it's been the past few Wazesha Wednesdays, and I'm really excited to be back here on a Wednesday. Today I want to talk about artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI, and I also want to talk about machine learning, and I want to talk about what they mean, and most importantly, what the impact is of AI and machine learning, and all this in preparation for Wazesha sessions that are coming up next week and the week after. I'm going to have some really good guests on Wazesha. I'll post it on Facebook. It's going to be next Thursday at 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then the following Thursday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it's going to be all about AI, just a ton of information. And the whole theme is, again, Wazesha, right? Empowerment through shared experiences. We'll talk about what it is. We'll talk about how it's used. We'll talk about the impact specifically on our community, on the Kenyaricans, on the Kenyans, and yeah, just our community and how we can make sure we are not left behind when it comes to the race for AI. So that said, I'm Ichi, ready to do a Wazesha Wednesday for you. Today, I want to talk about AI, and my core message is this: AI isn't new, it's just profoundly different from what it was before. And understanding the difference is what's the key to helping us navigate all these like things that we keep getting from everyone talking about AI, AI, AI. So, what is AI? What is machine learning? What is ChatGPT? What is Gemini? What are those things? I'll frame it this way. Imagine if, let's start with machine learning, because machine learning is what powers artificial intelligence. So, machine learning is all the infrastructure that's in place to allow the machines to learn, to allow the machines to operate, and to allow the machines to provide us with that intelligence and insight that then becomes artificial intelligence. So if you look at, let's use a person as an example. So machine learning is the entire body, the structure of the body, the wrists, the hands, the chest, the legs, all that is machine learning infrastructure. And then artificial intelligence is, and then the machine itself is the brain, right? And then the output of the brain is what's known as intelligence. And so for you to have ChatGPT, for you to have Gemini, for you to have all these tools that people use to when asking questions, you need to have a brain, which is the machine or the set of machines, and then you need to have the infrastructure that powers those machines. And so when you hear data centers, you hear networking, you hear compute, you hear racks, all that is the body, the skeleton of the body, all the parts of the body. The machine is the brain or the set of machines, and then intelligence is the output that comes out of the brain. So, why is it such a big deal? It's a big deal because never in the past have we had such transformation in technology that has allowed machines to work so fast. And by working so fast, they're able to like digest all this information. And by digesting this information, they're able to make decisions and provide output that we've never ever seen before. So it's been there, it just hasn't been as fast as it is today. Okay. So it's not new, it's just different. So when we talk about AI, it's easy to think about the recent phenomenon, right? We think about late 2022, early 2023. There was a lot of stuff in the press. You heard about, Chat GPT, and everyone started saying, wow, AI, AI, AI. But really, AI has been here for decades. It's been here for 50, 60 years. The origins of AI were, I would say, were typically more of curiosity, right? Can I make a robot that just not only does it just follow the instructions, so I tell it do this, then do this, then do that, but the robot can learn some things and perhaps even compete with a person when playing a chess game, as an example. So when we think about the origins of true intelligence is this machine, in which case could be a robot, could be any machine that's not human, is able to watch patterns and then use those patterns to make a decision. So I think um, early on, AI was very curiosity based. It was also very research based, very academic based. What if we could create this thing that could do that? Okay. And then many years later, it became, I guess, a utility, right? So it became something that can help you while making those intelligent decisions. So I often talk about the Roomba. I think it's called the Roomba, that little thing that cleans the floor, right? So I remember buying the Roomba, I don't know, it was 10, 12 years ago. And what was interesting about the Roomba was that it just didn't clean that. Not only did it clean the house, but it was able to figure out, make a map of the house, figure out the places it had cleaned, go on to other places that it hadn't cleaned, figure out what places were still dirty. So it was able to think. It was able to take all this input, process the input, and then make decisions on what to do next. So it starts cleaning this room. It sees that there's an obstacle there, it backs up. It sees that it's getting drained out of batteries, so it finds its way back home. It was amazing that this tool can actually make decisions. So when I think about the evolution of I think about one, the sort of curiosity based AI, which was just people programming, putting if then statements. The machine is looking for patterns. It has a limited amount of information and it's making decisions and can actually play chess against you, right? Then I think about the second phase of artificial intelligence where it has more information and it's able to actually make decisions on what to do independent of you, like the Roomba. So now fast forward to where we are today. It's not just curiosity, it's not just a utility, it's a decider. So artificial intelligence is making decisions for you. Some people would argue it's making decisions with you, but I would argue it's making decisions for you. Think about recently in Atlanta, we've been seeing the self-driving cars. Jane Mukami, I saw the video you posted with the Waymo. The Waymo is, I rode one 5, 6 years ago in the Bay Area. The Waymo is a self-driven car, right? Self-driving car, autonomous vehicle. But think about the thousands of decisions it has to make, it being the machine, it being the car. Should I turn right or left? What does the light say? What if a child comes? Will I be able to recognize a child, or is that a ball rolling down the street? Can I risk, passing the yellow light, red light, or should I stop? Think about the multitude of decisions that go into the Waymo. And that's where we are with AI right now. I can tell you personally, I work in tech, as most of you know, and my day-to-day job is to ensure that the machines that are responsible for making those artificial intelligence decisions, that those machines are available for all of you to use. And I see new machines or new machine types coming constantly. Why? Because technology is leaping in leaps and bounds and it's transforming. Something that would take 10 hours to process is being processed in 2 minutes, right? And I'll give you some details on all of that. But suffice to say, we've seen an evolution of artificial intelligence from what I call curiosity-based AI through sort of utilitarian-based AI to now what I call decision-based AI. So AI is actually making decisions for you. So I'll tell you, actually, I'm curious, what decisions have you outsourced to AI? And I'll tell you a couple of decisions that I've outsourced to AI. So recently, my sister-in-law said, hey, we have to go for dinner on this date. It's a really nice place, dress appropriately. So that's what she told me. So I was like, gosh, okay, what does that mean? How should I dress? What should I wear? I have like a million clothes in my closet. I don't even know which one to pick. So I said, you know what? I picked a few, I think 3 or 4 sets. of clothes. I laid them out. There were two suits and then two like sport coats. And I took the pictures of them. And then I went to Gemini. So for those of you who maybe have never used this, think about Google search, how you go into the search box and you put in a search criteria. So imagine if you download that as an app, and that app called Gemini has this artificial intelligence built into it. So when you ask it a question, it just doesn't send you a link to say, hey, go look at these places like Google search does, but it actually takes that information, consumes it, and then provides an output. So I took pictures of the four different coats and I said, I'm going to this place. I was told to dress appropriately. Which of these should I wear? Okay. So Gemini consumed the photos, first gave me a summary of what it had seen in terms of the type of outfits those were. And then it gave me a description of where each one would be most appropriate. And then it said, based on where I was going, this was the one that made the most sense to wear. It was sort of like, cutting edge, it's hip, it's not too formal, it's casual enough, but yet it makes a statement, right? So I was like, wow, okay, cool. And then I said, okay, now I know what coat to wear. What color shirt should I wear? It said, well, it's sort of a pinkish coat, dusty pink, you should wear blue. I said, okay, so got a blue shirt. It's like, okay, what pants should I wear? It said, well, thinking about the combination, you need to wear, this navy pants. I said, okay, cool, I got those two. And then by then I had outsourced every decision to it, right? So I said, okay, so what shoes should I wear? Then he said, yeah, suede loafers, right? So this is just an example of what artificial intelligence is capable of for a user like me. Meaning, I need to make a decision. I'm not sure what decision to make. I go to this tool, I ask it a question, it goes and with all these, imagine having multiple brains. Imagine if you had 100,000 brains and the 100,000 brains were able to source information from everywhere in the world, all sorts of outfits that exist and so it knows what this outfit looks like. It can match it with what it's seen people rating these jackets to look like. It can see the color combinations that are pleasing to people. It can create a palette of what that should look like. So it does all that in milliseconds and returns the output to you. That's what artificial intelligence is. How many of you have wanted to buy a car, are thinking of buying a car? How many of you are thinking of buying a house? How many of you are thinking about, gosh, what am I going to eat for breakfast that's a healthy meal? Artificial intelligence can provide you more information about those decisions than any one person can do. What about those of you who have a sick child, someone who's sick, or know someone who's sick, and don't know much about the disease? Artificial intelligence can source all the information, collate it for you. Go to academic research papers, to doctor papers. It can do all that for you and return an output that can then help you make a decision or aid you in making that decision, or for some people, make the decision yourself. So what really makes today so different isn't the idea of AI. AI has existed for a long time, but its capabilities and its accessibility. So again, I'll repeat, its capabilities as a function of just the growth and speed in which technology has advanced more than it's ever advanced before, and accessibility. And accessibility means it has access to information. I mean, think about the amount of information on the internet multiplied by the decisions that have been made previously by other machines, by other people, and just put all that together and throw this set of machines that are able to go through all that information, accessible all over the world, and then return a decision. So what makes today so different isn't the idea of AI, it's the capabilities and accessibilities. And there's four key things that are driving this. Data avalanche is what they call it. This is an unprecedented volume of digital data. I mean, think about most of the things that you do now are digitized. You get a form, you put in some information, you hit submit, you don't even look at the disclaimer that says this information is public. I'm on Facebook Live. 99% of the information I'm putting out there now is being consumed by a machine right now that's trying to figure out what this person is talking about. We have the internet, which has a ton of information. So, a lot of digital information that existed in paper, oh, a lot of information that existed in paper in, for those of you who may remember this, in the library is now digitized and available to everyone. I remember, some of you may remember this, I think I was in standard 8 or whatever, going to the National Library, right, in Nai. You had to go, whatever, what was Macmillan Library, right? Going to Macmillan Library and you're reading those books, right? Imagine you trying to acquire that knowledge, reading those books, okay? Compare that to a machine or a set of machines that are 1,000 times more, can process information more than you, with access to all the information in the world. That's what the data avalanche is about. Two is computational power. I think I talked on a Wezesha Wednesday about machine learning. I talked about TPUs, GPUs. GPUs, you hear about this company called NVIDIA. They create these processors called GPU. What's a processor? It's, like a chip. It's a thing that goes inside the computer and then allows the computer, it's the brain of the computer. So it's a piece of hardware that goes into the computer that allows computation to happen. And so GPUs by NVIDIA, TPUs by Google. So those things are becoming more and more powerful, meaning they can process a lot more information in a shorter amount of time without burning out. Whereas in the past, they were not processing enough they weren't processing the information that fast and they would burn out. So you have all these technologies that are coming together to enable computational power, which allows us to process data in milliseconds, whereas before it would take a long time to process. Case in point, the Waymo car. When a decision needs to be made, the Waymo car is able to access information from different places, some of it locally, some of it in compute machines elsewhere, process that information and make a decision. That's called computational power. So data avalanche, computational power. The next thing is algorithmic breakthroughs, right? Algorithms, people have discovered how to make things have deep learning. There's so much transformation in the way things learn. I mean, because now with AI, you can actually create an image. So imagine the ability to match algorithms, deep learning algorithms, natural language. You can speak in natural language and the machine will understand you, whereas before you had to type it out. The machine can listen to a recording, transcribe it, tell you, give you insights on what's going on, provide action items from the meeting. All of this are algorithmic breakthroughs. So you have data that's available, you have computational power that can do it, and then you have algorithms that actually process that. Have you taken the Waymo? Of course, dudes. I work for the company that makes the Waymos. So I've taken them. I took them a long time ago before they even came to Atlanta. And when you're in one, I think it takes you a minute to realize that, crap, there's no one driving this car. This car is driving itself. So that's three: data avalanche, computational power, algorithmic breakthroughs. The last one is one thing that I love and very proud of, which is democratization of data. What that means is that AI tools and platforms are becoming available to everyone. And so what does that mean? That means someone who never had access to the computational power, to the data, to the machine learning compute, now has access to it. And because of that, they can create things that were never possible before. And this, my friends, is what I'm really happy about, because for our community, for our Kenyaricans, for our Kenyan community, that means people in Kenya can create things, create services, create capabilities using artificial intelligence that before never ever existed. AI is actively and it's globally transforming industries, right? When you think about new products, new roles, it's changing, fundamentally changing how we work. How we used to work traditionally and how we work today is different because of AI. The question then becomes, are you ready for AI? And by the way, what does that mean for you and your job? So we'll talk a lot more about that in my sessions next Thursday and the following Thursday, where I have three panelists, three highly qualified panelists who will tell us about this. But I'll tell you this, AI doesn't always get things right. There is a notion of hallucination. So especially, I wouldn't talk bad about Gemini, ChatGPT. Hallucination, which means that when it cannot come up with an answer, it guesses, it puts things together and gives you a very compelling story that could be 100% inaccurate. For example, I've gone to ChatGPT, Gemini, I've asked a simple question: create a slide for a presentation, and I want you to put the African map, and I want you to highlight Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Eritrea. Give it 5 or 6 countries. So tell it, create a map on a PowerPoint slide, create the map of Africa, PowerPoint slide, and label the countries and list 5 countries. And what it did was insane. It created the map of Africa, perfect. But it put Kenya like Ukos where Ghana is. Then it put another Kenya down where Zambia was. Ethiopia was like, I don't know, in Morocco. It just guessed. And it guessed because it did not fully understand what it was that I was asking. It was going to 2 different places to gather 2 different pieces of information, and it was creating a map. Think about asking it to create a dog with bunny ears. It can do it. So it was doing the same thing. It was creating a map of Africa. Then it was taking what it sees are colors and saying, okay, I'm going to paste it here and paste it here and paste it here. Now imagine if a student in school had transmitted that as the final paper, they would get it wrong. So AI doesn't always get it right. Let's see. Actually, I was more excited about the software driving and not having a person. You have to be in the tech world to appreciate AI. Well, that's very interesting. You do have to be in the technical world to understand maybe AI, but I think to appreciate it, there's users all over the world who are non-tech at all, but are taking advantage of AI. Business owners, all of you, you coaches, Jane, Jean, Joanne, Jacinta, all of you, this is Florence, this is Eve, all of you guys. This is where the magic is happening. Being able to understand how to utilize AI for your businesses. All of you parents with kids trying to figure out scheduling, just trying to have something that's going to help you, AI is there. And for all of us users who are trying to write documents, I don't know, capture meeting minutes, Gemini is there for you. Listens, transcribes, gives you AIs. What's the most recent discussion that was had? Does that for you. What's the downside of AI, Kim? That's a very good question. I've been asked that question many times. Let me contextualize it maybe in 2 ways. One, downside is it get things wrong. So the input you give it, garbage in, garbage out, the input it receives, the input it processes, and the output it provides could be fundamentally wrong. There's many use cases where it has given a compelling story that has made someone make a decision that is wrong. So that's one. Two, I think, is there's always going to be some sort of bias just because it doesn't have enough information to be able to make what I would call unbiased decisions. There's a lot of movies and shows about it, talking about the biased decisions it can make. But I think the worst downside of AI is the best thing about AI, is its computational power. So what does that mean? It's a good thing because the computational power can make you make decisions faster, more efficiently than ever before. The downside of that is that if there's a bad decision made, if you have a bad actor there, they can use this computational power to make things even worse. Think about what's happening in the media, all this like false news, all this fake news, deep fakes. The fact that it has such high computational power allows a bad actor to use it for fundamentally wrong things. But here's what I think. There's always been good and bad in life. For as many bad actors as there are, there's good actors who are going to make things better. So the bad guys will always lose. Okay, so that's on the technical aspect. Kim, for me, the downside of AI is more societal. And what that means for me is you have students, as an example, you have students in the United States, in privileged areas, in privileged schools, who are being told, hey, good, you're using AI, fantastic, learn more about it, become friends with it, and make things better, right? So they're being encouraged to figure out how to work side by side with AI. But then you have students in other communities, and I would argue, I'm really interested to hear the Kenyan perspective, which I'll hear next week from Dr. Gitao, is people are being told that AI is a stigma. Don't learn it. No, 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 don't use AI. In fact, you'll be penalized for using AI. So what happens then, it creates this huge gap where you have people who are encouraged to use it and are power users, and you have people who are told that it's wrong, who are penalized for it, and therefore the gap continues to widen. In the United States, 2 weeks ago, I went for this summit where we were talking about what legislation needs to be passed for educators to encourage use of AI and to prepare the tech workforce. 20 years from now, what should those students learn now so they can use it 20 years from now? Does that exist in other communities? Does that exist in other countries? And so the downside of AI in this case is that you'll have all these power users, you'll have these students 10 years from now in the United States, China, etc., who are creating things because the syllabus and the policies allowed them to embrace AI, whereas you have the students on this other side for whom AI is just something they've heard of, they don't have access, and the policies don't allow them, and the education doesn't allow them to embrace AI. So those are some things that I can think of, but certainly next week, Kim, when you join me, Dr. Uma, Kuhumba, and Dr. Gitao will talk a lot about this. So I want to talk about something that a lot of people say, well, it's going to take my job. Haha. Is it going to take your job? Yeah. Yeah. It's going to take your job. That's a fact. Oh, Duterte just said job displacement, replacements is also a downside. But this is where people have to adjust their skills. Yes. So I'll tell you this. Is it going to take jobs? Yes. Is it taking jobs now? Yes. Are there some jobs that are safe? Yes-ish. Are there some jobs that will be eliminated forever? Absolutely. So let me give you a story about something that happened. This is from a book that was written actually 4 years ago. 4 years ago. It's a Brad Smith's book. It's called Tools and Weapons. And there's this chapter that talks about the day the horse lost its job. The day the horse lost its job. So it turns out back in the day, 1800s, right? So you had humans are the ones who used to pull, like think about the fire trucks today. We call them fire engines or whatever, right? Fire trucks. So they used to be pulled by humans. So there's a fire, they pull them, quah, 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 quah. They get to the fireplace, they hose it down, water it down, and the fire goes. So due to some diseases, cholera outbreak, etc., the humans were replaced by horses. So now horses are the ones that used to pull this fire trucks. So whenever there was a fire, they would bring the horses, they would harness them, pop, 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 they get the horses, they take them to the place, they turn the fire off. 100 times more efficient than men. And then something interesting happened. Industrial Revolution, the automobile came. So the automobile was introduced and it took a long time for it to catch on. I mean, there were people who were driving here and there. And even when people proved that people can drive long distances with the automobiles, it took some time for people to embrace it. But once people embraced it, like Malcolm Gladwell says in The Tipping Point, it was a tipping point. And suddenly the horses lost their jobs. All those horses were replaced by automobiles. The automobiles started pulling what's now known as the fire truck. So what was the impact of that, Ichi? I mean, that sounds like nonsense. Well, turns out a huge part of the American economy was run on agriculture for these horses that consume 10 times more calories than people. So people lost their jobs. People lost their farms. People lost money. It was crazy that all these people lost their jobs. And then something interesting started happening. So because of the car, you suddenly had car repair shops. Yeah, because the car needs to be repaired. You had parts shop. So, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Direct parts for the car. But then other industries started coming out. People wanted to afford cars but couldn't afford cars. So what happened? Loans. Financial institutions started coming up. Oh, people need to insure cars. Oh, insurance companies started coming up. So suddenly all these different types of institutions, all these different services started coming about. They never existed before because they were never enabled by the automobile. That's what is going to happen. I don't have the crystal ball, Kim. I don't have the crystal ball, Duta, but I can tell you right now I don't know, you listen to V103, you'll hear this lady, 1-800-TRUCK-WRECK, talk about lawyers who are certified in AI, right? So suddenly there's a whole new industry where lawyers can do AI or can prosecute Waymo cars. You have suddenly all these people called prompt engineers coming up, right? You have new roles emerging that didn't exist before. So what am I saying? Will jobs be lost? Yes, absolutely. That is true. Will new jobs come up? Absolutely. Maybe even jobs that we haven't thought of. I have faith in my kids because my kids are AI natives. What that means is that where for me, my head can only think, how can AI help me do something better? For them, they'll think, why do I even do this thing in the first place? Can I fashion AI to do something else or create something else? So AI will displace jobs, but new jobs will be created. So what does that mean for you? Most importantly, reskill and upskill. Reskill and upskill. If you don't reskill, if you don't upskill, you will be swept under the rug when it comes to AI. And I don't mean that everyone has to become a prompt engineer. You have to think. Someone, Larry from TAG, said this, and I thought it was profound. Only 20% of us need to learn all that prompt engineering and all that AI stuff, right? Only 20% of us need to learn. The rest of us, the 80%, need to figure out how to utilize AI. So Kim with iStudio, you need to figure out how to make AI work for iStudio, right? Duta, you have to figure out how to make AI work for you more efficiently at work and allow you to create artifacts that would take 17 days to create. How do you run systems? How do you run your business? So upskill and reskill to learn how to utilize AI. If you want to be the 20% who want to go and do all these $20,000 courses, which, I mean, personally, I don't think, why do you want to change from what you do to learn that? It's like me saying, okay, I'm going to go learn computer science. I'm not interested in computer science. But guess what? If I can understand and upskill to learn how AI can be used to work more efficiently, then that makes things better for me. So upskill and reskill. The next thing is we need to create a culture of AI where AI is okay, where AI is embraced, right? So next week and the week after, I'm committed. Wezesha is going to bring in demystifying AI, and I want you guys to attend, and I want you guys to ask questions. I want you guys to say, you know what? AI is no longer the enemy. AI is the friend that I need to embrace so that I can figure out how to provide value to me, my family, my community, my society. We do not want to be left behind. And as Kenyans, we need to figure this thing out. We need to come together. We need to come together and figure this thing out and say, how can we ensure that no Kenyan is left behind when it comes to AI? Duta says 100% we're expected to work with AI at work now. It's now part of the job. Yes, it is. Use the tools. And for those of you who are trying to figure this thing out, I'll tell you, full transparency, I'm trying to figure this thing out. I talk to some people who say, well, you can use this API to agent with this and agentic with this and predict with this and do that. Like, you know what? That's beyond my pay grade. For me, it's, hey, we're meeting. I'm putting Gemini on. I'm going to record. I'm going to transcribe. I'll ask it what AIs came. What are the critical things that need to be done? AI for action items. What are the critical items that need to be done? How far behind am I on schedule? How can I make this schedule go faster? Boom, and do it. I can take things that would take me a long time to do in the magnitude of 10, 15, 20 hours. And I can bring that down to a few minutes. That is what I need to figure out how to harness AI. If I'm running a business, I need to figure out what insights can I get about the customers that I want to pursue. If I'm running a business that relies on lead generation, what tools can I use to make sure that I get leads, qualify them, and make this thing work for me? Someone told me today, Ichi, you like talking. What you need to do is to create a bot that can talk on your behalf. And I said, hey, that's above my pay grade, but maybe one day on Wezesha, it won't be me. It will be this bot that's going to talk. And then I can go relax and play futa, right? So just open your mind up to what are the things that cause you the most time. Just write them down. You don't have to have an answer. And again, do not go paying $20,000 for a class to learn about AI. Unless you are that type of person, then do it. But for now, just think about what decisions can I outsource to AI? I'll give you another example. If you have a car that's having a problem, well, that might be a little complicated. But you see, I'm already putting guardrails around my thought system. AI native would say, my car has a problem. I'll take a picture of the leaking part. I'll ask Gemini, tell me how to solve this. Gemini will figure out what type of car, what the issue appears to be, what are the plausible things that need to be done to fix it. By the way, I can go source parts for you. I can make the call. I can find a deal where you're going to get a discount. And I can also find a contractor who's going to come to your house to fix your car. That's what AI can do. Great conversation. Let's talk. What tools are your jobs providing to help with the job? Zuka, that is the most amazing thing that I've seen happen. When I talk about a culture of AI, that is what we're doing at work. So the tools are there, right? We have Gemini, we have, different tools like that, and of course some that are more proprietary. But beyond that is people actually saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to create a class on how to use AI for program management. And then suddenly bringing people together, and then people are saying, okay, hey, what do you use AI for when it comes to program management? Are you able to do your Gantt chart? Are you able to create a charter statement? Okay. And they're creating a culture where they share information about how to use AI, notebooks, accessing all the information that's available in different folders, and summarizing it and then creating a notebook that everyone can access and get a playbook, right? I'm creating a onboarding document for Nooglers, for new Googlers. And I'm like, okay, why do I have to go through 60 PowerPoints to do it? Okay, I'm gonna ask Gemini to figure this thing out for me. And since I don't know, again, it's above my pay grade to figure out all these prompts, I'm gonna reach out to someone who is running a class where that's what they do. So creating a culture where people are adventurous enough to use AI is where it starts. So it's less about the tooling, but more about the culture of AI. So, beyond technical skills, the most important thing for us collectively is to embrace the fact that AI is here. We need to embrace the fact that a lot of us will be left behind. Those of us with less privilege, meaning those of us who don't have access to these things as a result of not being here, as a result of, whatever circumstances that put us there. And we have to figure out how to reduce that gap. We need to focus on skill set, upskilling. We need to focus on mindset. That means opening up your mind to infinite learning. And we need to figure out how to strategically think about 5 years from now, when my job is gone, what role will I be doing? I often tell this story. Chase, my son, asked me, well, growing up, did you ever think you'd work in tech? And I told him, growing up, there was no tech job. Like, there was no job. In standard one, when we were being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Teacher, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a cowboy, right? Those were the things, right? By the time we were in high school, it's like, yeah, engineer, I'll do marketing, I'll do CG, medicine. But there was no computer engineer, right? There was no, I don't know, network engineer. I mean, a lot of those things existed, and I would argue computers and typewriters were those things you sort of do on the side. You do your BSc in whatever, and then during halls, you go do computers, database entry, stuff like that. But you look now, and there's all these majors in universities that did not exist 10 years from now. There's a saying, I'm going to find it, and when I find it, I'll post it. It says something like, the things that exist now were never thought of 20 years ago. And the things we used 20 years ago don't exist today, right? So think about it. Think about 20 years ago. That was 2005. The iPhone did not exist. The iPhone did not exist in 2005. Why? I remember it was 2007 when it came out. Think about what the iPhone has enabled, right? The iPhone came and people said, whew, this thing is going to replace computers. I don't even know, like replace the phone. People won't be able to talk. But because of the iPhone, people have built businesses around this smartphone. People's lives have been saved because of this smartphone, because of access to information that they did not have. Dang, we're communicating with people 10, 15, 20,000 miles away from us because of this phone. We are able to real time have interactions with people in ways that never existed before because of this phone. So here's my message to you. When AI comes, the reality is, AI is already here. The reality is there is no crystal ball. Only history will tell us the true impact of AI. One day people will say, what were those people worried about? What were they worried about? Only history will tell us the true impact of AI. For now, we need to befriend AI. Need to learn from it, develop a relationship with it that's not based out of fear, but rather of utility. And perhaps you can even ask it to dress you up, right? I'll wrap up with this. People are using Gemini, ChatGPT, and others for therapy. Imagine the power of 10,000 therapists who can guide you on a daily basis versus the one therapist that you have to pay thousands of dollars for. I'm not saying the therapist's job is going to go away, but I'm saying AI is providing a service that a lot of people maybe were not able to afford, but now it's in the palm of their hands. So there is no crystal ball. Only history will tell us the true impact of AI. For now, we need to befriend it. I encourage all of you to just download Gemini, ask it simple questions. What's the weather like today? What should I dress like today? You know, ask it simple questions so you can form a relationship with it. And then more importantly, encourage your friends, encourage your kids, encourage your community to use AI. Let's not be stigmatized by it. And then finally, see you next Thursday, 9 to 11. Following Thursday, 9 to 11, we will have sessions, Wazesha sessions on demystifying AI. Thank you, everyone. Wazesha Wednesday. I'm out. See ya.